Welcome to the Ranch and Table Podcast, where we discuss all things related to our Texas ranch and our Ranch to Table restaurant located in downtown Rockwall. I'm your host, Lee Wells. All right, welcome everybody to the Wells Ranch Studios. Today I have another good friend in to the podcast and former mayor of Rockwall. This is also senior VP at Independent Financial North, right across the street from us there at the restaurant. Kevin Fowler, welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me out here.
Man, I'm excited about it. Thanks for driving out and being here. Man, I want to say that you've supported us from day one.
From day one. I was there the day that you opened the door. You had a little chamber deal in there. You had your little burger bites out.
And you know, we bank with you there. Our daily deposits and all of that are done there. And man, you guys have and always have had just the best staff, really the best, nicest people work for you and you guys. And so it's a joy. It's
because they know who serves them their hamburgers.
Well, I'm
know
glad
where that's coming from.
I'm glad they like us. We've made good friends. Some have retired and moved on. And they still come eat burgers.
Yeah.
I don't know if they come see you as much as they do.
They do not.
I don't blame them.
Maybe if we cook burgers in the lobby.
Right. And that might be frowned on from the city, you know. But yeah, you guys have supported us, and even with like the parking situation across the street from us, a lot of people don't know that that's part of our allowable parking. But without you guys, I was thinking about this the other day. It'd be tough. It'd be tough to do what we do there without it. So thank you for that. You've been a friend to me, and glad to have you on and to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, glad to be here. Man,
it's just it's going to be a good episode, I believe. I want you to just take a minute and just tell people who you are and kind of what you do and just introduce yourself.
Okay. You know, my biggest fear when you said me on the podcast, they're going to look at it. They're going to say, Lee Wells is talking to Kevin Fowler, and you're going to get a bump in listenership and viewership. It's like the country singer's going to be, how did Lee Wells get Kevin Fowler, the singer? And they're going to turn it on, and they're like, that ain't the Kevin Fowler that I know.
Right.
So
I thought you sang the first time I saw that on a flyer from him coming into Rockwall. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go hear Kevin Fowler sing.
You know, we can talk a lot about Kevin Fowler because our paths have crossed in my political career, and tell you a bunch of funny stories about Kevin. He and I lived in Austin at the same time. I lived in Austin before I moved to Rockwall, and there were like 3 Kevin Fowlers in the phone book. Now, I just dated myself.
Yeah, you did.
Because I mentioned phone book.
Yeah, you did.
But we had phone books. There was 3 Kevin Fowlers. There was me who worked at the bank in downtown Austin. There was another guy who worked in a law firm in the same building I did because I would get his pizza. He liked Pizza Hut. I'd get his pizza deliveries every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Then there was Kevin Fowler, the singer. And we'd get phone calls like at 3 in the morning. You know, hey, dude, great show. We're like, man, this is Kevin Fowler, the banker, Sunday school teacher,
right?
Wrong one.
Wasn't there.
And but I met him. We went and saw Willie Nelson. We'd moved up here, and he was opening for Willie. So we heard him. Well, he was out at a table, and first time I ever talked to him, we went through the little line. And so I was telling him that story, and he's like, man, I used to get phone calls whenever I was sleeping after a show looking for Kevin Fowler. He went to Hyde Park Baptist Church and he worked at a bank. And I'm like, dude, that was me. I said, so did we wake you up and disturb you? He goes, oh yeah. I'm like,
because it was business hours in the morning.
Business hours in the morning.
He was sleeping. Yeah.
Yep. I said, so we can just call ourselves easy. So we kind of developed a friendship, and whenever he plays up here, we go see him, visit with him on the bus, and it's
that's cool.
Funny. But anyway, enough about that Kevin Fowler.
Yeah.
The real Kevin Fowler, because I think I'm a little bit older, so I think I was here first.
The original.
Where do you want me to start? I mean, how much do you want me to go into?
Well, tell us
back to the log cabin days, or
well, we've already hit the phone book days.
Yeah, seriously.
So I think what you do now, what you do at the bank, we're going to talk some banking, small business banking stuff, and then of course political. Tell us about being the mayor a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. so moved to Rockwall in 2000, went to LSU, got to get that plug in.
Right.
So graduated from college, moved to Austin, was in Austin for 13 years, got married, moved to Rockwall. And so I've been here since 2000. So 23, going on 24 years in Rockwall. The longest I've ever lived in one place. My dad was a minister. And so we moved a little bit. We moved from, I was in Louisiana and Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee, back to Louisiana, then back to Austin. So I've bounced a little bit, but the longest I've been in one place is in Rockwall. So it's really home. Have been in banking the entire time. 36 years. I've been doing this in one form or the other. Been in banking, and so really that's what I've done in Rockwall. Part of the banking world is knowing your community, being active in your community. So we've been very service minded, been very active on that side. So that's Chamber of Commerce, that's Boy Scouts, that's Economic Development Corporation, and all those just eventually led into where do you serve next when you've exhausted some things, and it was just a natural progression
To the council, and then
into council. Yeah.
How long were you on the council?
I was on council 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on EDC, that's Economic Development Corporation, which is appointed by council, and that really kind of whetted my appetite, my interest in what council does, because there's a lot of that was closely related, and so that a position came up, and I put my name in to be appointed. It was David Sweet. David Sweet became county judge. He resigned from council to take that spot. There was a spot open, so I put my name in the hat. One of my very best friends, John Hohenschelt, who I was on the EDC board with. In fact, we had dinner with them last night. We traveled to Spain earlier this year. So, I mean, really a very good friend. Also put his name in. Well, he got appointed. And I said, well, that's fine. There's another spot opening up. I'll just run for my spot. I'll work. And so that was in 2015 is when that happened. So did 6 years on council. It was time. Jim Pruitt termed out. We have term limits in Rockwall, so he termed out. And it just seemed like the right thing, the right time to run. Didn't have an opponent, so it was a very easy race to do it. So that's how I became mayor.
And you were mayor for
one term, 2-year term. 2 years, So in Rockwall, the charter reads you can do 6 years if you do your a full term. So a full term is 6 years, 2, 2, and 2. If you do your full 6 years, you've termed out. But if you want to run for mayor, you can do 1 2-year term as mayor.
Okay.
And so I did my 1 2-year term. Now I can sit out and come back and run for mayor, run for council if I chose to do that.
Okay. Well, good. I know that those are things that people don't necessarily. They know mayor, they know the word, they know who you are, or they know the name, but I don't think people understand how much work that is, and how much. Everybody knows it's an honor, but how much work that is. And I was talking to Trace Johannesson the other day, who's the current mayor now, and he was late getting back to me on something, and he said, "Well, I had council last night, and I guess there's a lot of prep. I mean, tell us a little bit about what that workload is, just for people like me who don't know what all that is."
Yeah, so it ebbs and flows. So the mayor is the figurehead of the city. It's the spokesperson. It's really it's the face of the city. Behind the scenes of that is working with staff. Really, we're just a board of directors per se. We have a full-time staff that knows how to run a street department, public works department, HR, fire.
So the city manager does a lot of work.
President, CEO. Yeah. Really, if you equate it to business terms, really does that. Now, they work closely in conjunction, but we do policy setting. There are a few things that city council does, as far as zoning and land use. But again, we have a zoning director who has forgotten more about zoning and land use and planning than I would ever pretend to know. I mean, they're professionals. That's what they do for a living.
Right. So they advise. And then you help.
They give us information. They advise when we ask. They're very careful because they don't want to influence what our decision making is.
Right.
But outside of the title of mayor, I had one vote. And I would, when people would call and say, but you're the mayor, but the mayor has one vote. And I've got 6 other very capable council members sitting up there who have a brain and they can think and they can make their own decision. You know, there was healthy discussion out there, and you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
When it comes to a vote, but that's the way it should be.
Right. That's fair. And then so it's monthly.
Council
meetings,
so they have 2 meetings a month, and on Wednesday you get a preliminary packet. You glance through it. Then Friday the packet drops. It drops on the website. So the same packet that I would read and use in council meeting, it was the same one that you would download if you wanted to know what was going on. We didn't get any extra information outside unless we made a phone call and said, hey, I've got a question about this. There's really no extra information. There's no pre-meetings. Council didn't get together and said, okay, let's talk through this. What you see happening in council is happening in real time. It's against the law for us to talk forward.
Behind the closed doors.
Yeah. So the packets ranged anywhere from 150 to 300, 400, 500 pages long.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to read every word of those. A lot of that would be things that are information that you don't need to read. So you got very good at being efficient, but you did have to be prepared. You can't walk in there and not be prepared for public hearings. Depending on what was on the agenda would depend on how much phone calls you got or emails. If it was just straightforward, you may get nothing. If there was something that was apartments in downtown, that caught people's interest, and we got a lot of emails and phone calls, so it did become very time consuming.
Yeah, just fielding those and saying what we're going to talk about it at the meeting.
Our listeners, people want to be heard. They have a right to be heard.
Sure,
and listen. Now, you can't. On that particular issue, I couldn't respond to everyone, but I tried to call. I tried to have phone conversations on the really, really hot topics, the ones that people really were getting emotional about. I'd say, here's my phone number. Let's set up an appointment, come in my office, and let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's sit down and have a face-to-face conversation. And we may disagree when we're done, but at least you're going to hear my thought process. You're going to hear what I'm doing, how I'm thinking, and I'm going to be able to listen to you. I had 2 people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want to do that.
Yeah. Social media is probably frustrating. Everyone wants to mouth off on social media, but 2 people showed up at your office. Yeah.
Oh, and they're experts.
Yeah.
Social media is full of experts.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trace, current mayor, he's a little more active. He's gotten a little less active than he's mayor, I've noticed, but I tended to stay away from that because it's a rabbit hole that there's just not a bottom to it.
Not going to win it.
Now, if there was just gross misinformation, I would put that out there. And I did a lot of type, delete, and just say, I'm not going to win this.
Yeah. And then I think making the door open is the best policy. And then if 3 people show up, then you can have those conversations with people who really want to. And then the people who just want to mouth off, well, they'll go to sleep sometime.
Yeah. I'll tell you, and most people don't really pay attention to what council does because so much of it's mundane until it impacts them. I call it it's the pothole in front of their house.
Yes.
When the pothole's in front of their house, that issue is very, very important. Otherwise, if it's in front of Lee's house, well, that's Lee's pothole, and I don't care what happens in front of his house. Right. But if it's in mine, then people get very, very interested, and I get that. Sure. I mean, I don't expect people to sit and watch 2 hours of council meetings every other week, but they can if they want to.
Well, it's available.
Yeah,
and I think that's about the only policy you can have is come talk to me.
I think what people don't see or didn't see is what happens behind the scenes with developers. So there was a developer right after the apartment complex issue that we had in downtown. There was a guy that just south of where the old Brookshires is, where Planet Fitness is, just south of there, that little triangular strip of land. Yeah. There was a developer from New York who wanting to put in apartment complexes there. And he called council members, and we had Zoom calls, and he even came to council meeting, and I had several phone calls with him via Zoom, just he and I, in his little high-rise apartment. And I said, look, it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And he tried to tell me how backwoods I was and how I just didn't understand how much better his product was and that we just didn't get it. And I'm like, I don't think you understand our citizens. I understand them, and I know what they want. Yeah. Those are the things that citizens don't see. That never hit any agenda because we were able to squash it and say, this is just not. This isn't welcome here. It's not going to go well. In fact, he said, well, he was threatening. He said, well, I'll tell you what. If we don't come in, we're going to put a Topgolf there. And I said, really? You put a Topgolf in, and I'll put a statue of you up there. And he's like, oh, well, maybe not a Topgolf.
Yeah, bring that.
Hey, bring that all day long, brother.
Don't be careful what you threaten. Yeah, right. Because I'll take you up on it.
Yeah, he couldn't backpedal fast enough.
Right. So that you're talking about the piece of land right behind the ATM there. Is that where I'm talking?
A little further south. Yeah, okay. Where all the political signs pop up during political campaign sign season. Right. Just north of the railroad tracks there. So.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of work to get that all working anyway. So
yeah, we just became very Texan. Just north of railroad tracks there.
Right.
Right there by that grove of evergreens.
Right. And I actually know exactly where that is.
I know
where that's at. Oh man, that's awesome. So politically, I have this later in the show, but I'll ask you now, since we're on political, any sights for something else? I mean, do you think someday you'll jump back in a race and do something else? What do you think?
So the answer to that, and the very truthful answer is, I have zero designs, zero plans, hardcore plans to do something else. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean that I'll never do it? It doesn't. If the opportunity were there, if I thought I was the right person at the right time, then I would absolutely do it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Honestly, I was ready for a break. I enjoyed the break. I've enjoyed having my Sunday evenings and Mondays and not feeling obligated to go to as many events as I did before. Right. I enjoyed going to them, but I also enjoyed being at home with my wife and reading and having a little bit of freedom. But
it's a lot of work.
I would absolutely not rule it out, but I'm not planning. There's no plans to run for anything right now.
Okay. And that
might change tomorrow.
That's a fair answer. I mean, I don't know. People ask me, they said, when are you going to run for something? I said, I don't even know why you would ask me for that, but no. But I've got my plate full right now. I don't know where I would fit anything else. And then I open up a podcast and find time to write a book. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, I meant that when I said it, but then when those opportunities come up or when that desire hits, then you make time, I guess, for it.
Yeah, busy people have a way of fitting in what they need to fit in. Right. When I was mayor, when I was on council, I never felt like I was overwhelmed with work or church or personal. I never felt that until I wasn't mayor.
And you had some time.
And I had time. I mean, and I kind of jokingly said, overnight your phone stops ringing, but really overnight your phone does stop ringing. My calendar's full. One of the ladies I work with at the bank, she's like, "You're here all the time." My wife is like, you really should take up woodworking.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take up woodworking. Yeah, but you really should take up woodworking.
You need something.
You need something to do. Like, I'm happy to sit on the couch.
You should write a book. I tell you, I just wrote this book and
on your phone.
I did. Well, the core of it, I wrote on the phone. And that was the only way I could get started. That's the only way I could imagine doing it, is in between meetings or in between doing something else. I may have said it on here before, but I was doing it in between loads of hay. So my guy's loading me up with the tractor, and I'm typing. I'm doing two thumbs. I'm just going at this thought. And when you're done, when you're loaded, you beep, beep, it hits the horn and you pull out and, go dump and come back and whatever. Well, he honks and I'm right in the middle and he honks again, like I didn't hear it. And then my phone rings. He's like, "Hey, man, you're loaded. You've been loaded for a while." I'm like, "I know." And he didn't know that I was writing a book at that time. So that was when he first figured it out that, man, I'm writing something. Hold on. I'll be right there. I'm going. I'm doing it. But that's how I started. Probably, I would say at least half of the book was written on my phone. And then I moved it over. At some point, it got too many directions, and my brain wouldn't keep adding to it until I organized it. And then I dumped it over into a Word doc and on the laptop, and I started organizing it, and then it was easier just to do it there. But I still would put things in my phone and then move them over to it later if I'm out and about.
I don't know how you did that.
It was the only way to do it, because I'm not going to sit down. I can't sit down for hours at a time and just dedicate to writing. My brain doesn't work that way. And so that was the way it worked for me.
I would have had a pad. I have a pad of paper with me today.
Longhand. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what's hard. Even when I read, I have Kindle and little Kindles, and I'll read on a Kindle. But what's hard is if I want to flip back and it's like, who's this guy? I don't remember who this person is. And it's cumbersome to flip back and forth. When I've got a piece of paper or a book, I can flip through. I kind of know where it is. I remember where I saw it on the page.
Yep.
And I go back and forth between paper. But I would think writing a book, I would want to see an outline. I'd have a little outline. I mean,
well, eventually it got there. Eventually it had to be an outline.
I'm like a monk. And they give me a scroll, and
it had to get there to keep it all straight. I'll tell you a funny thing. I had a couple guys read it for, which you read it for comment.
And I printed it out.
Did you really?
I printed every single page out and read it paper copy.
Wow.
I couldn't read it.
Yeah.
It's on my desk. You can come see it.
That's awesome.
It's all marked up.
I love that. I had another guy read it for, he was a journalist and an attorney, and just a real meticulous guy. And he read it. He actually read it twice for me. My first round of
I
beta.
didn't do that.
My first round of beta readers. And then he came back and he had a lot of word changes and semicolons and just real good information. And so once we brought it back to the second cycle of that, I had him read it again. And he writes a letter, like a piece of notebook paper. And he says, he put all the comments in the longhand. And then he says, "I really think you need to reorganize these chapters and add this chapter." And I thought I was ready to go to print. I almost cried because to stop and redo all of that. But he was right, and it was actually, once I got that done, it was pretty easy. But man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you reading it. Really,
yeah.
I mean, that was pretty cool that you would do that for me.
I think I told you this, but I'll tell you again. So when you gave it to me, I'm like, I'm happy to read it, and I printed it out. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of reading. That's me. Like, he really wrote a book,
real book.
And then I started reading. I was like, it's about the restaurant industry. I'm really not that interested in the restaurant industry, and I kind of read it. So I read, I don't know, maybe about a third of it, word for word. And then you told me, hey, I need to get this back. Right. We're about to need the feedback. And so I said, okay, I need to sit down and reread this. So I said, I'm a pretty fast reader anyway. I said, well, I'm going to skim through this. And so I skimmed about, I don't know, it might have been a chapter, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 pages. And I got interested. And I slowed down and read every single page word for word. I'm like, and so part of kind of the feedback I sent, what's a cowboy know about writing a book? Really nothing. You'd be wrong. It was
That's one of my favorite feedbacks, by the way. That was one of my favorite. It's in the book. I don't know. Do you have a book yet?
I don't.
Yeah. So I'll show everybody. So let me. I have your statement right here, and for those that are,
I'll autograph it for you if you want me to.
Right. I need one. So what can you learn from a cowboy who runs a burger joint? Nothing much, right? You'd be wrong. Wells captures the highs and lows of operating a highly successful business in one of the most difficult industries in which to succeed. He provides a glimpse into the inspiration, vision, creation. So that was a pretty cool statement. And catches your attention pretty good. And I appreciate the compliment.
Or I had a preconception of, here's this old cowboy going to write a book, and I'm going to have to muddle through grammar, and it's going to be a burden. I got into it, and I'm like, this is really well written, and it much exceeded What's that say?
I
When I
appreciate
think of
this,
my
I think.
cheek, it exceeded my expectations
Yeah.
of what
Right.
what you were going to do, and it's a really good book. In fact, I told my wife first. I said, "Yeah, Lee wants me to read it, and I'm going to do it. He's a friend." And at the end, I said, "You really should read this book. It's really a good book." I mean,
That's awesome.
and so
Yeah.
so if you don't have the book, you need to get the book and read
Right,
it.
right. So let this be a lesson to us to maybe judge a book by its cover. I don't know. I don't know what we're saying here, but
It had great artwork. It's got great artwork. in it,
artwork,
so-
right? I had a buddy of mine drew all the sketches. He actually lives in Croatia. He's a missionary in Croatia. He's Croatian and came here and then went back to minister to his people, his villages and stuff. And man, just a cool way he sketches. The way he does it's just really cool. And so I asked him, I said, "Hey man, I'm going to do a book project and would you do some sketches for me?" And because I was trying to capture the feel or a look of maybe the cow on the counter or the ranch horse or whatever it was I was kind of talking about, just give a feeling. And man, he just almost first draft every time. Very rarely did I have to go back and say, let's adjust this. He just nailed it every single time.
It's really good. Yeah, the cow on the counter. So I read that, and I've been in your restaurant who knows how many times.
Right.
I've never noticed the cow on the counter.
Right.
I've noticed a little origami dollar thing.
Right.
But so I went back over, after I read the book, I went back over one day, just a few weeks ago, just to see if it was really there. It's really there. I mean,
It is.
Yeah. No, I had to
is.
go see if it was there.
I think I'm going to send Ree Drummond a copy of this book. I really am, because her subchapter is about her. Remember, about the inspiration to even start the restaurant from her, and so that'd be kind of cool to be on her show or something. I don't know if that
You
would
were just
ever
up there,
happen.
weren't you?
I was. Yeah, we. I have a brother, an adopted brother that lives there in Pawhuska, and so we saw him for Thanksgiving and ate at her restaurant and went out and it's just always relaxing to go out and drive. I'll tell you a funny story while we're on that subject. We went out. My dad was from the book, my dad was a manager, the foreman for the Chapman Barnard Ranch, which at the time was the largest ranch in Oklahoma. Now the Drummonds have some of that and added to theirs, and they're the largest ranch in Oklahoma. But right there where those two ranches meet is where my dad was a foreman for several years. And so we took a drive out onto that ranch, which now it's a preserve, buffalo, and it's amazing. As far as you can see, not a telephone pole, not another road, not even a tree. I mean, it's plains of Oklahoma.
That's good city planning.
Oh, right. You can. It's an open book. Actually, out there, they said that ground has never been plowed in the history of the world.
Really?
It's too rocky. There's other reasons that they know that. They said it's never been plowed, but the bison actually, the way their feet move and their heavy frames actually cultivate that soil, that topsoil, and that's why they had to put more back out on it. Cattle don't do that. It's really interesting, but we get as far as we can get, and we're at a turnaround lookout. We're probably 20 miles from the closest road, paved road. And I go to get in my truck. I stepped out the video, jump back in my truck, pull my gear shift down in my, I have a Silverado 3500 dually. I pull the gear shift down, and it's just clear movement, no gear, nothing, just free movement.
So this is not an advertisement for
that truck or that transmission. I'm talking, my heart dropped. I mean, my family's with me, my brother's with me, my girls, my wife, him. We're just sitting there. I'm looking at him. I'm like, it no go. I mean, it wasn't going anywhere. So
hit no go.
It was not going anywhere. And I remember looking out the windows, and I'm like, Jimmy, how far is the closest road? He's like, Lee, we're at least 20 miles from anything. I mean, and I've got the video on my phone. There's nothing. And so I did have self signal up there. We were high enough up. And I called the dealership and I said, give me anybody that knows anything about this truck and transmission. Because I had imagined, worst case, that something in the steering column had broken.
Yeah.
Well, it was just the connection to the actual transmission down there. And so he crawls under the truck, and we manually put it into drive and drive back. But I'll tell you what's weird. You don't think about this, but driving with that thing in the park position messed with me all the way back, because you got this gear shift in your sight and it's not supposed to be there. Anyway, that took a long time to tell that story, but it was very, my heart sunk. I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I'm thinking tow truck from here. It was Thanksgiving week. It was the day before Thanksgiving. No dealerships open.
Yeah.
I mean, what in the world is going to push it back to Texas? I mean, anyway.
AAA?
Not out there.
What can you do?
I don't know what I would do. So I was glad it was an easy fix, but we got back and fixed it. It was easy. But anyway, man, let's talk about banking a little bit. I know there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of stuff floating around, especially since the last election. There's just been a lot of stuff that just keeps resurfacing. Of course, last year we talked about this. I came in the office and we talked about there was a collapse of an investment bank. There was a Swiss bank that was that went under. It was big news, back last year sometime. And I came in and said, man, what's the deal with the banking industry? What are we looking at here? I've heard some stuff on the internet, on TikTok, whatever. And you were very, very comforting to just completely dismiss a lot of that kind of stuff. And so talk to us about the difference. And what we saw there was investment banking versus the more traditional banking. Talk to that, just because I know people have to have this in the back of their mind.
Yeah. Well, but because it's news,
right?
And they don't lead with all the community banks are really quite fine,
right?
Because that's not news. They lead with
there's no drama.
Well, there's no drama, and actually those bank collapses were dramatic because they happened so fast. I mean, Thursday, Friday, there's runs on the bank, and it's a wonderful life kind of scenario. People go on the ATM machines, they can't access their cash, and it's scary and unsettling. And they were big banks. It's not like it was just a small bank in the middle of a pasture in Oklahoma.
Right.
I mean, this was real money and
big names,
the big names who are their customers.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest. There's a couple of takeaways from that. One is our balance sheets. A community bank in Texas, a community bank in Oklahoma, a community bank in Louisiana is completely structured differently than the way those guys were. Those guys were investing loans. They were making loans to startup companies. High risk. There's no risk officer in those banks saying, hey, guys, you need policies, procedures. You need some kind of standards. You need lines on the road to stay in.
So they were just doling out money, and
they were running hot. Their balance sheets were mismanaged. Their assets and their liabilities weren't matched. You take a Texas bank, and I'll just use Texas because that's what we know. We know our customers. We're probably not going to do a lot of startup loans. Well, we'll do some if it makes sense. But are we going to be a venture capitalist? Are we going to be an investor? That's what those banks were. They were investors in these startup businesses or these high tech, and not even just startup. A lot of high tech, high risk businesses,
right? Movie studios and new technologies. Yeah.
High failure rates, and so you're not going to see that on a Texas. I mean, you'll see some when it makes sense. You have a guarantor that's pretty strong, and if something goes wrong, they can weather the storm. We have risk officers. We just manage the banks much differently, and we know who our customers are. My customers are guys and gals that I see at church. I'm going to see them in the restaurants. We know who our customers are.
Right.
In fact, there's in the banking industry, there's brokered deals. So you have a guy who's brokering boat and RV storage. He just does boat and RV storage. And he'll call you and say, hey, I got this deal over here in Garland. Do you want to do this deal? Well, if we don't know them, and it's a broker deal, we're probably going to pass on that. Now, somebody will do it.
Yeah.
It's maybe a great deal, but we don't know them. We don't bank them. We don't see them. So,
so when my money's at your bank, that is going to be, or my loan's with you, then the security comes from the relationships. It comes from the backing of the collateral that's required, which these other banks didn't have any as venture capitalists. None. Which a run on the bank would be just hard to imagine in Texas then. I mean, in your situation, I mean, that's not something that we'd ever foresee happening.
Well, and think what happened. I don't know if we talked about this when you were in. Interest rates have gone up. And as interest rates have gone up, the money that those banks had invested in their bond portfolios, so as rates go up, bond values are going down. And so they have to mark those to market. I mean, they were taking paper write-downs on their balance sheet, which was making them insolvent. So that's,
they were having to cover those bonds with other money.
And so take our bank. What we did was we saw that this is about to happen. We saw rates were going up. We reclassified our investment portfolio from short-term holds. Well, we're going to hold them to maturity, held to maturity. So we're going to get our principal back. We didn't have to write anything down. Our balance sheets remain strong. We have enough cash. On top of that, we have access to lines of credit. The problems that those banks had in California, we prevented that from happening by forecasting and looking ahead and say, hey, rates are going up. We know our bond portfolio is not going to be worth it if we keep it in short-term holds. We're going to move from short-term holds. We're going to move to long-term hold. We'll just hold it in maturity. We're fine with that. And so completely mismanaged their balance sheets.
So probably there's I don't want to say never. We don't ever want to say never, but the whole structure is just completely different.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is it's more secure because of just the way you do business in general.
Yeah. And could the bottom fall out? Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. But we feel like, and I won't speak for every bank, but at least my peer banks, I know, and I don't want to plug them, but I'll plug them. They're well run, well capitalized.
Sure.
I don't think there's a lot of high risk, at least in Rockwall, Greenville, Sulphur Springs, in our area, and the independent community banks, the larger community banks.
Yeah. They're just run differently. That's not going to be something that we're going to see here.
No, it's not like the old days. It's not like the old savings and loan days when everything was running pretty hot. It's different now.
Or the 2009 and
2008, 9. When rates fell.
Whenever all the different mortgages were a problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll learn from those mistakes and move on, and those shouldn't have to reoccur.
Yeah. You hope not.
Good. Well, you're doing everything you can to keep it from happening again. So that's good, because everyone is also nervous about, these home values have gotten so high, and people aren't necessarily making the same money, ratio wise as their houses are costing and cars are costing, groceries. And so it's in the back of people's minds, it's like, hey, this does make sense that it could happen because, all these other things in the world are happening.
Yeah.
And so,
and we still have insurance. I mean, as a depositor,
FDIC.
We still have FDIC insurance. Yeah. I had a guy call me. He was very concerned about his deposits in the bank.
Yeah.
And what I'll say is, they're insured, but even if you're over that 250 limit, then there's other ways that we can place money around. There are some tools that we can have to make sure no matter what you have, you're well insured. And he said, but I'm just so nervous about it. And we talked, and so I finally said, and I didn't know this person, just a phone call came in. I said, let me look at your account, and then we can make some changes. And we pulled it up, and he had like $7,000 in the bank. I'm like, bro, you good?
Because FDIC is 250.
Yeah, 250.
Right. So,
yeah. I'm like, a lot of bad things would have to happen.
You're within the limits of.
Hey, bro, you're good. I don't think I said it quite like that,
But that's what you were saying.
But that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. But and not to make light, he legitimately was concerned about his money.
Well, sure.
And his $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 might as well have been $50 million. Well, sure. Because that's what he had.
And then that's
and I'm not making light of that.
No, you're not. But your point was you're well within the range.
We're well within the range.
Insurance coverage.
There's still insurance out there that covers a large portion.
Right.
And I called my largest depositor, and
which wasn't me.
Then my second one was Lee.
Oh no, that's not.
And
your bank might be in trouble then.
Well, I said I know my customers, so I called him and when all this was going on, and said, "Hey, let's talk through this. Do you have any concerns? I just want to make sure you're comfortable." And he's like, "I'm really good, really fine." So, we had those out there too who had.
That's why we bank with you, because I appreciate those things. Those things, they make a difference.
Yeah.
People caring about it and knowing that an issue could come up or whatever. Just like when I walked in and asked you about this, I mean, you could have laughed me out the door and said, man, get out of here. That's all stupid stuff. But you didn't. And I think that's why we're talking about it now, is because if I had that concern, and I think other people will, and I think that's a great answer for it. I keep hearing about like the devaluing of the dollar. I don't know what that means, but the devaluing.
Hope you're not looking at me.
I mean, or this global currency reset that people are talking about, everything being backed by cryptocurrency and all that. And I think a lot of that, could we just say that that's just a lot of noise?
It seems like it to me.
I mean, from a banker who understands your branch and your business,
35 years,
35 years of experience. I can't speak to these things. They're just noise to me. But if you think they're noise, then that means a lot to me.
So how I kind of prioritize what I think is important and what's going on is there are smart people who work at our bank that I report up and through. And they'll push information out and say, hey, this is something that we need to be watching and be prepared for, or this is coming down the way. I really haven't seen any of that. I'll get a call every once in a while and say, hey, the Fed's changing this law and it's really bad and it's very conspiratorial. And so I'll go and use my best friend Google and go and read about it. And when you ferret out the facts don't always match the narrative that people are pushing for their agenda. And so I try to do that. In this case, this was just clearing funds quicker. They thought that it was pushing to a non-cash society, to a global currency. It really was just and not clear checks. It was to have access to your funds faster. So with my direct deposit, they have to send those payroll files down on Tuesday to get paid on Friday.
Right.
Well, now they can send them down on Tuesday and it'll show up on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So that was the intent. Now
it got misconstrued into something else. And blown up as a big conspiracy
to fit a narrative, to fit a political narrative.
I think there'll be a day where we'll have to talk about something. I mean, things are always changing. I mean, right? Used to you could float some checks for a few days and you could really get good at that. I mean, maybe when I was younger I might have done some of that stuff. I wasn't making any money and I needed to get some groceries, so I put a check in on maybe a Friday after 5, and hoping it wasn't hit until Tuesday or something.
I'm going to make a note right to check your account.
Yeah, go ahead. It doesn't happen that way anymore.
No, I mean, it's fast.
And that's actually good. Those things are good, really, to me. I want those things to hit and be able to move in real life pace rather than, because when somebody doesn't put a check in, you're like, all right, well, you're waiting on this check to clear and you see this money in there and it's kind of better just to go and do, especially I think the more money you move, it can be a benefit to move in real time a little more so, or act like it does.
We were talking last night. I told you we had dinner with our friends, and we were talking about Venmo because they don't Venmo, and we had some money we needed to exchange, and we didn't have cash. And I said, if you guys had Venmo, it'd be a lot easier. We're not doing that voodoo witchcraft stuff. And
I've got Venmo anytime you want to send anything. I'll give you my user.
I do too. So we had a whole conversation about this cashless, because they were checks. And so we talked about, how many checks do you write a month? I write one check. Last month I wrote two because I had to write them a check. I owed them some money. So I wrote them a check. But the guy who mows our yard, I write a check for that. Outside of that, it's online bill pay or automatic payments.
Right.
We've really gotten away from that whole writing checks. In a business, maybe not. You might write.
I write more than I have ever, just because of when I buy cattle and I need that to. Those are not necessarily, unless you wire it or something. It's not easy to do that without a check. But that's just the uniqueness of what I do.
Yeah. Just from a consumer's point of view.
But my day to day, I don't write checks.
I
swipe a card.
I always had my checkbook with me. It was always in my car, in my back pocket. I had a wallet that my debit card was new. I mean, I kept receipts up until about last year. I changed wallets, got this little bitty thing. I only have a few cards. I don't keep receipts anymore.
Right. Same.
Man, I feel like I'm in the
cheating the IRS or something.
I feel like I'm in the 20th century now.
Right.
I tell you the other thing that's a change that I'm starting to see happen. What's that? Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Happened Monday. Saturday, I was getting ready and I heard a bang. I thought somebody ran to my garage door. I seriously thought they hit my garage door. Threw on some clothes, went out, was looking, and I'm like, well, maybe it's just a car going by. Who knows? Went out to leave. The garage door went open. So I was late, left, came back. So I said, okay, I'm going to fix this garage door, figure out what happened. And the spring had popped. And so Monday, called the guys out, called them at 8:30. They come out. They're there by 9:45. I replaced two springs by 10 after 10. I mean, they're super fast. And he said, hey, it's $500. I said, here's $500 you can pay by check, cash, Venmo. If you use a card, we're going to charge you 4%. And so I got to thinking, we're always talking about the more convenient ways to pay with a card or not using cash. We just don't use cash anymore. It seems like now we're going back, at least from the retail side, to more cash.
I'm always for cash.
I know.
Yeah, it doesn't cost me money.
2019, I guess it was 2021. Maybe it was a couple of years ago. Took a trip to Louisiana, went to go see a football game. We were in Lafayette. Every single restaurant, every single one, had a cash price and they had a credit card price.
Yeah.
I mean, they discounted it to cover the fee. Didn't see it in Baton Rouge. We don't see it here. We're starting to see it here.
I've seen it a couple places out here. Fate has a couple places that is doing
Rockwall, one of the downtown Rockwall restaurants has one.
I mean, someone could figure out what my gross receipts are if I told this, but we spend somewhere in the neighborhood of, it's thousands of dollars a month for credit card processing. Yeah. And we have a pretty fair deal. They reevaluate it based on volume, and it's not a set rate.
And laws, chargebacks.
It's just the way it is. It's part of doing business. But people say, do you take cash? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't take Venmo there, but cash is always ready to go in that drawer.
Yeah.
Because I saw something the other day. It was like if you had $50 and you used a card for a certain amount of it.
I think I've seen this.
Did you see this? And so if you'd used a $50 bill, it would still be $50. But when you start taking those transaction fees, that $50 is gone.
Yeah.
It can be like 4 or 5 transactions depending on the size of them. And then you're just working in electronic money then.
Yeah.
Like the $50 is just ceremonial.
Yeah.
That's what
it was
interesting.
It's taking it the currency away and putting it into the system. Yeah, so it made me wonder, is that going to push us back to carrying cash? I'm happy to pay cash. I mean, we do that with the guys that come, they'll say, it's $500. Well, what is it if I pay cash? Oh, like in other words, it's the $350. I'm like, I like that.
Yeah, I'll pay you less.
Yeah, so, because you hear a lot about digital and crypto and moving away from cash.
Right.
Now it feels like I need to have cash with me because if I can save 3% at the restaurant, I'm cheap that way.
Absolutely. Well, it adds up for sure.
Yeah. Well, the argument used to be from the credit card companies, this is credit card propaganda, was you've got to take MasterCard, American Express, Visa, because if you don't, you'll have less customers. It's just assumed now in our world that you're going to take one of those credit cards. I don't know if that's true.
Well, there's some restaurants and businesses in our community that don't take any credit cards, and they do fine.
There's a hamburger place.
I know. I wasn't going to mention it, but now that
I didn't say the name.
All right, they will not, and that's fine for them. I don't know if we could function that way, as many as we do swipe. But anytime someone offers cash, I'm like, yes, sir. Bring it. Moving on into discussion a little bit, we've talked a little bit about, now we're talking about small business. Talk to maybe someone that's starting a business or starting. You talked about startups a while ago, and it's hard to get started. I mean, it just is, and there's reasons why it's hard to get started. The saying is, banks can't always help you when you need them the most, and then when you don't need them, they're there for you, offering you money. And so, I've seen that in my life, and that's just the way it is. But there's reasons for that, and you can speak to those reasons, collateral and various things, the liabilities. But then talk to us about. So then, how do you do it? So how do I position my business? How do I position my books and the money I do have to look the best that I can? Because I think there's some wisdom in that you could share with us to help somebody that's trying to get started, and maybe they need to just move some things into some different containers and put some QuickBooks together and show what they've done and what they can do, and talk to us about that.
Yeah, man,
there's frustrating.
There's a lot to unpack in that, and when you're looking, because it's not just collateral. It's not just, but at the end of the day, I think people forget that the bank's not a nonprofit. I mean,
have to make money.
We're there to make money.
Yeah.
We're a for-profit business that offers a service. Now we function within regulatory frameworks, but at the end of the day, we're there. We're a publicly traded bank. And our shareholders expect a return on their investment. So we're a business. So if you come to me and say, "Hey, man, I've been doing this for about a year. I'm not really making any money, but I think if I got a loan, I could maybe make some money, but I haven't." But so that then we're looking at going, okay, am I going to give this guy $100,000? He hadn't made it yet.
On a wish.
And how am I going to get paid back? So at the end of the day, what the banks are looking at are, my business isn't hard. How are we going to get paid back? If he doesn't pay us back, what's our secondary, what's our tertiary sources? Am I going to go sell something that he's pledged, or does he have some kind of backup? Does he have cash reserves? I don't know how good a businessmen bankers are, because we're relatively risk adverse. Because everything we look at pretty pessimistic. Well, look where that's going. This and that. We can find every reason why it's going to fail, and they go out and it. In fact, I was talking to my boss today. He was talking about a deal just like that. He looked at an RV park out in the middle of nowhere, and he passed on. Long story very short, he passed on it. He said, "I drive past that thing, and it is packed.
Yeah,
it is full all the time.
He's making money,
just making money hand over fist." And he said, "I looked at it, and said, I just don't know how they're ever going to make it."
Yeah,
and I think we all have those kind of stories. How do you position yourself? I tell you that the ones that are difficult, you take somebody who's in a trade, so an electrician, a plumber, a welder, and they are great at being a plumber, an electrician, and a welder. And they say, man, I could do this. I don't need boss man paying me a paycheck. I can go make more money just on my own.
Right.
Then they'll come to the bank and say, hey, I need X amount of dollars. I need to buy a truck, some inventory, and some lease space. What we then look at is, you're a great plumber, but are you a good businessman? I mean, you cook a mean burger, but you also have to make payroll taxes. You have to pay rent. You have to do, sales tax. There's a lot more to running a small business. And so the bank looks at that. What's your experience? So I think the more that you can educate yourself on how to run the business, being good at what you do doesn't equate to being a good businessman.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of businesses struggle and fail. The other thing is, be realistic about your debt, because debt is crippling. And as a Christian businessman who really looks biblically, debt really isn't biblical. I think the time to use that is, will this debt help me make more money? So if you came to me and said, hey, I need to borrow money to buy this, it's going to help me increase my profits by this much. At that point, it starts to make sense.
Right.
Leverage is a smart tool, but to do it with, it may not produce a return. You need to think through that.
Right.
I think more startups start. Let me back up. What we would look at is, what happens if things go south? And I think if a businessman asks himself, my projections say I want to do this. Well, what if they don't?
Right.
How are you going to pay the bank back? What are you going to do?
Right.
Because shutting the door isn't the answer to us.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And cash is, cash is good.
So somebody has some cash in some accounts, and they haven't gone out and spent everything on inventory. And then, so the more solvent they look, the more months in advance or months savings they have. Those things make a difference in your decision too.
They do.
Because if it doesn't take off for 6 months, but you've got 6 months worth of cash to pay us
to cover,
then there's some good business strategy there.
Yeah, because a new business, and banks don't. SBA helps a lot. Now, Small Business Administration doesn't make the loan, but they'll guarantee a portion of it. So it gives the bank some, especially in the restaurant business, because it's a high risk, high failure rate business. So and there's not a lot of collateral. Most of them are renting a place, and there's tables and chairs, and
they're not worth anything.
They're really
when you try to sell them at an auction.
They're 10 or 15 cents on the dollar.
That's nothing. Yeah.
And so SBA can step in, and we can look at somebody and say, hey, he's a great operator. He's got a good product. We think this will work, but we need a little extra assurance because there's no collateral there. And so SBA can step in and help. It's a great tool. And our SBA department's tremendous. I'm just so impressed by those guys.
Yeah. And do you have people that work in your branch with them, or they how does that structure?
They're not in the branch, but they are employees of the bank. Yeah, they're employees of the bank. The other model are, there's packagers that will put it together and work with banks. We actually have, when we're a preferred lender, so when we say yes, they say yes. We don't have to send it off to SBA to get another set of approval.
Okay. So if someone was getting into business or had a business and needed some money, go to the SBA and then get with you guys. And
actually, not to the SBA. They just come to me.
Okay.
We're the point of contact. We're the point of contact. All SBA does is guarantee the loan. They'll just guarantee it. We're still the primary point of contact.
Okay. So. And you've got a department for that. Yeah. Speaking of awesome. Failure rates, I just did another video shoot before this. Did you know 70% of small or local restaurants fail in the first year?
Yeah.
And 90% never see 10 years.
Yeah.
You talk about pessimistic.
Yeah.
And the fact that we just hit 5 in Labor Day, hit 5 and going strong, everything staying the same. We're looking good for 10.
You know what's amazing to me is in downtown Rockwall, how many restaurants have failed? Almost none. One closed, but that was somewhat tragic when the chef, one of the owners, passed away.
Right.
Outside of that, and that location was a little difficult. One came in, and it just, parking was an issue, but you've got Zadada's, you've got Ben, you've got Pier, you've got Wells, you've got Downing.
Right.
Fable and Fire.
Doing good.
It's unbelievable that, and even outside of our downtown area, down the harbor, with Gloria's and Giovanni's and
Sideways and
those
guys.
Man, those guys are good operators.
Right.
Yeah.
They got it together.
Yeah. So we've seen restaurants come and go in Rockwall, but it's amazing to me, at least in our downtown bubble, how many have done well and stayed open, because it's so hard.
I think the operator makes a big difference. The community makes a big difference.
Yeah.
We have a local minded community. When we were going through the COVID stuff, I had people come in and say, "We're not going to let you close. We're going to be here." I had people that said, "We've made a schedule of our favorite restaurants, and we're going to eat at these restaurants each night as long as this goes."
Yeah.
I mean, things that I don't know that other communities saw. Maybe they did. I had one guy come to me and he said, if you need, he said, "How you doing?" And I said, "Good." He said, "No, how are you doing?" I said, "We're making it. We're doing well." He said, "If that changes, let me know, because I'll give you an interest-free bridge loan until you get through this." I mean, I don't know that every community has that kind of support.
Yeah.
But we are so blessed to have that. And then we have really good food in downtown Rockwall. Those that you just mentioned, and the others right in that area. I mean, you go to the book club, go to the various ones. Go around
Another one of my favorites.
The whole square. Go around the ramen place. I mean, you talk about good food.
How did I forget Speak? We were there last night.
Yeah, so. I mean, just great. And I think that good or great kind of begets great.
Yeah.
In challenges. And so, I've always been challenged I feel privileged to be in that location, even though others didn't make it there or whatever. I've never worried about that. I've just been glad to be downtown Rockwall. And then I feel that challenge every day to be great, just because it's great to be down there.
When you talk about that in your book,
I do.
You do talk about that in your book.
Yeah.
Well, and you really did hit on a point there I think is important, is every restaurant you just mentioned, the owners are usually there, or if not, their manager. So we walk into Zanata's, we know Kevin or Al or Matt, we know Jacob. We know those guys. We walk into Ramen or to Speak, we know we're going to see Tommy or Tamara. We're going to see Lee, or we're going to see your mom.
Right.
You go into Ben, you're going to see Matt. Right. I mean, it's
a big deal.
You're connected.
You're
connected to those. Yeah. We go into Downing and see David and Jen. They've been to our house. I mean, so you develop relationships, just like we do in banking.
Right.
I mean, I've always said I don't want to bank people that I don't enjoy being around.
Right.
The people I bank are people that I like. And
Mom and I were just talking about that. She said, even if I walk in here and I'm not having a great day, she said it's probably. She said I put a smile on my face. We were just talking about this week. She said I'll put a smile on my face and I walk in, and she said by the first conversation it's a real smile.
Yeah.
She said, and the rest of the day just flies by because our customers are they're so great.
Yeah.
And that's not just saying that because I'm on a microphone. Our community it really is amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. And then we are challenged by that to do well,
Yeah.
And it's perpetual. We just keep building that. And I've always said, and I say this in the book, I'd rather be surrounded by great restaurants. One of the worst things in the world for me to see downtown is to have subpar restaurants there and me be the only good restaurant. That would be a nightmare. I would love for people to be having to choose between great restaurants and being there rather than just staying out of downtown because nothing's worth eating down there.
Yeah. It does foster. I mean, greatness begets greatness begets. But you're right. I'm not going to eat a hamburger every single time I go out.
No.
We're going to go to Cuss Mama. We're going to get Mexican. We're going to go to having that choice, and there's enough of it to go around. In my opinion, having more restaurants does nothing but help yours because it draws people in.
That's right. I've said it, and I think I said this in the book. I'd rather have those great restaurants and support them, and even if they drive by me to go somewhere else, at least they've driven by me.
Yeah.
And they saw me there on their way to somebody else, and then next time maybe they'll come there. But if they never come down there for the other guy, then I'm out of the picture too.
Yeah.
And so it's, and I talk about not being, I don't see them as competition. I don't see people as competition. They're my friends that are doing a different meal for our community. That's the way I see it.
You're just not going to, I'm not going to go to one of those places every single time I go out.
Right.
There's enough to go around.
Variety is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, man, let's look. I think some of the difficulties that we've seen in our business with supply chain, inflation, post-COVID stuff that we've talked about, you and I have talked about before, I'm sure. But do you see any of that kind of lingering other than interest rates? You see any of that in your business at all?
We did on the construction side. There were some supply issues. Gut feel, it feels like that has lessened some, and part of it is we're in a semi-recessionary environment with rates going up. Things have certainly slowed down, and that helps when it's supply and demand. When demand decreases, your supply
you can get a hold of some stuff.
You can get a hold of some things.
Yeah.
So, there was a time you couldn't buy a car. There was you couldn't get the chips to put in the cars to get them shipped, and they were stacked up in the ports, and that. And I may be out of touch on that, but just gut feel, it feels better. I'm not hearing that as an excuse. Maybe that's the way to put it. I'm not hearing that as an excuse. Oh, supply chain issues. Right. You hear it every once in a while, but not like you used to.
Well, there for a while, it was hard to get anything.
And you can find product now. I mean, I haven't just personally, just as a consumer.
I wish things would go down as fast as they go up.
I
wish prices would go down as fast as they go up.
I don't know if they're going to go down.
I don't either. They shoot up and stay there.
I mean, gas is a global, natural gas is global commodity, but of course it's eased, but it's not anything we've done on this side of the pond.
I think that we probably spend, I would say we spend probably 3 or 4 times what we did when we opened on just about every product we buy.
Yeah.
And our prices can't be adjusted that much. And so some of that makes it a little difficult. You can get it. You can get your stuff, but there's some difficulty sometimes in just the prices and making the numbers work.
I bank one of the larger independent restaurants in Rockwall, and talked to them. It's been about 2 years now. And when protein prices were skyrocketing, they were increasing their price of their food every 2 or 3 months. And they said we finally got it, but they were always behind as the price of whatever protein, chicken or beef or pork, as it changed. But you're right. There's only so much you can pass along to the consumer before they said,
can't afford to eat.
I ain't gonna do that.
Right.
Ain't no burger worth that.
Right. No. Yeah, it's part of the environment we're living in. At least it has eased a little bit.
But your business, I mean, you've got to look. You talk from the banking side. My favorite kind of customer is one that when I call the owner, and they know their books. They know, and the answer is not, well, let me talk to my CPA. The answer is, I want you to know what's going on in your business. So, you as a business owner, you've got to know at the end of the day, you've got to make money.
Yeah.
You know what your overhead is. You know what your fixed costs are. Yeah. I mean, things
your
you control.
CPA works for a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are things that I have to say, let me check with my CPA. That's a good excuse sometimes when I don't want to. Let me check with my CPA on that raise. Let me see if I can get you that raise.
Well, yeah, there's
CPA's got to look at, I don't know if I could do that or not. But no, sometimes you better know the heartbeat of your business.
And that's what I mean. The nuts and bolts. If you don't know what your cost of goods sold is, what your product is, what your overhead, you talk about things that put a business, especially a small business, out of business the quickest is bank debt.
Yeah.
You have somebody who opens a franchise and they're paying franchise fees and they're paying rent. I mean, they're paying a bank note. It cripples. We kind of hit on that earlier. That's what will cripple a business is too much debt. People don't see how crippling that can be.
Can't get out of it.
Yeah. They can't get out of it.
Can't make enough money to make it. Yeah. And then it didn't take long before that just spirals down to
and they quit. Then they quit. They're like, I'm walking away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let me get to one of my favorite parts of this show. It's called Rapid Fire. And
I'm going to cheat.
Yeah. Of all the things that we've done, of course, we've had some great guests on, and that's always fun talking. But I love this part of the show. I had a fan. I have at least one fan of this show, and she came for the book signing the other day. And I didn't know who she was. She came up, introduced herself, and ate at the restaurant for the first time, and asked me to sign the book. Which I don't know if I'll ever get used to that or not. It's kind of weird.
Man, I have a tattoo that says Lee Wells right here.
You do not. That would be so weird. But for
the record, I have zero tattoos, and especially not Wells hamburgers.
Same here. So this lady comes in. She asked me to sign the book. I did, and she says, "I've listened to your podcast," and I said, "That's awesome. Thank you." And so we got to talking about some different things about it. So this is one of the first people that I've talked to that have listened to, a few episodes and had some input. I said, give me raw feedback. I mean, I'll take whatever you give me. And she had some really good input about, how we started the show, about how we know each other. She said, I want to know how you know your guest a little bit better, and connect us first before you get into the stuff. And so I tried to do that tonight, and I think we did that pretty well. We're good friends now of over 5 years for sure, over 5 years. And she said, I said, well, what do you think about the rapid fire? Because that's my favorite part. And she said, I love the fact that you do fresh questions every time. She said, some people do something like that, but they use the same questions. And if anyone's ever heard it, then they already know the answer. So I want you to know that I sit and I come up with these questions specifically for each guest. And it's the hardest questions that I can ever think of to ask you. So I hope you're ready.
It was hard. It was hard to think of questions to ask because we did no prep for this.
Right. No, this is just a real conversation.
Yeah, it's a real conversation. But we're going to do rapid fire.
But I asked for the questions in advance. I said, and not to see them, but just I let the guests know that we're going to do this, bring 3 questions. And I give you some generic, what's your favorite burger toppings, But of course I don't want to ask you that. So what we do.
Bring it, big boy. I'm ready for you.
So I'm going to ask, you're the guest, so you get to ask the first question.
Okay.
I'll let you kick it off, and I'll try my best to answer.
All right. So being in the restaurant business, I want to know what your favorite restaurant is across the bridge. We're not going to do Rockwall. Okay. If you're going, and you probably have about 15 that you like to go to, but if you're crossing the bridge, what's your kind of what's Lee Wells' go-to restaurant?
Okay. So gonna go get reservations and go eat somewhere. It's really pretty simple. I'm probably gonna go Papados.
Okay.
I'm the kind of guy where if it gets too fancy, I kind of lose interest. I can do it, but if 4, 5, 6 courses, not really my thing. But you set me down in front of some
bunch of fried food.
Well, no, I like the different. My favorite dish that I've ever had which of course the fried gator at the first.
Yeah,
that's a given. But I love the halibut, and then when they do like a chili sauce or something like an Asian flair with even some cashews or something. And then a couple big shrimp on top of that. That's all right. That's my thing.
That's the go-to.
Love it.
All right, that's good to know.
Yes, sir. All right, here we go.
Okay.
If you were forced to make a career change today, and you could magically do anything in the world, be very good at it, what business would you start?
I don't know what business I would start, but what I've always thought that I would have liked to do was be an attorney.
Okay.
To be a lawyer, because I think that gives you training. They teach you a critical way, logical, critical thinking then they give you the tools that if you want to go into real estate, it really opens the world for any business.
Yeah, I could see
that you wanted to. Now, if I want to be frivolous, like if I want to own a spaceship or
right,
right. But realistically,
you want to be Elon Musk.
Yeah,
okay.
I wouldn't be Elon Musk. But
I wouldn't mind being Elon Musk.
I've always, I got out of college and said I got to start working. I'm tired of. I'm not going to get. I did about 4 years, or 5. In my 5 years, I'm going to start working. Mm-hmm. I wish I would have stopped and said, let's get a little bit more training. Let's do something that, and I've always thought I'd enjoy being a lawyer. Although every lawyer I talk to is like, gosh, if I could do anything else, I would.
Yeah.
That's why John Grisham writes. I think every lawyer is a frustrated journalist.
The guy that did the 2 proofs I told you about a while ago, he's an attorney.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, he was a journalist, and then he went in. He writes briefs now. So
but I think you can hang a shingle if you want to, but it also opens the door to run any business you want to with that training.
So interestingly enough, if I were to have gone into a like an Ivy League direction, I was considering attorney myself.
Were you really?
Yeah, I would have been a very good attorney.
Well, let's go. We'll start Wells and Fowler.
Yeah. We would kill it.
I'm telling you.
Give me a few years to go get the education. But yeah,
well, I know a loan officer. We'll make you a loan.
Yeah, $250,000. All right,
my turn. Yep. So we're 4 days, 5 days before Christmas. Mm-hmm. So what's a Wells family Christmas tradition?
For years, we have on Christmas morning. We did this for years. When Dad was alive, we would do a big Christmas breakfast.
Okay.
And so
you cook?
I can cook. I do some of it now. Mom and the girls do some. My wife. But growing up, we would have, and my brother really started this. We would have every breakfast meat. So ham, bacon, sausage, at least those 3, pancakes and waffles. And then they have scrambled eggs. If you wanted a different kind of egg, you could. So it was like anything, and then sausage gravy, and biscuits, and so anything.
It was a breakfast buffet.
It was.
It was
at
Grandy's.
The house.
You
at
had
the
Grandy's.
House. It was so much. It was fun. So we do some version of that now, but it's just the few of us here. But Mom and the girls, and we'll do something on Christmas morning, then sit around and do gifts for each other, and so it's
fun.
It's a great tradition. Yeah.
I'll tell you, you didn't ask me, but because I think it's so bizarre, and I promise you that nobody in the world does what our Christmas tradition is.
What's yours?
So on Christmas Eve, we watch a horror movie.
Okay.
I told you.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it's just very innocent how it started. We were playing a game one Christmas Eve, and apples to apples. And my daughter, who was young at the time, the clues kept coming up, Silence of the Lambs. Mm-hmm. And she was young enough, she hadn't seen it. She goes, I've never seen that. Well, it just happened to be on. And so we watched it. And so we started joking, saying, nothing says happy birthday, Jesus, like a good old horror flick.
Right.
And it was a running joke. Well, about June or July, that joke was still going, like, okay, well, what are we going to do for Christmas Eve? What horror movie are we going to watch?
Uh-huh.
And so that's how it started. Well, now the kids are older, and July, August, actually this week, I started getting text. Okay, who's picked the movie?
Uh-huh.
What are we watching? And they all come over to the house. We all pile in. We have tamales, and I have some rules about the movies. They're I don't want them to be. They're not going to be satanic. No Exorcist.
Yeah.
I try to keep it more psychological kind of thrillers, the birds. But yeah, how many people do you know on Christmas Eve are celebrating with horror movies?
I think that's everyone else is at a candlelight service, for Jesus, and you're watching Silence of the Lambs. I don't know.
Silence of the Lambs. We watched that a few years ago. Misery was on the list.
I've never seen it.
Anyway,
all right.
I think your Christmas tradition may be a little bit better because you get waffles. You can never go wrong with waffles
and pancakes
at
the same time. All right. So, you ready? Name an accomplishment you are most proud of, and here's the qualifier: kids and wife don't count.
Okay. There's so many, Lee. I'm really having to sort through. Which one?
You're so accomplished.
I'm so accomplished.
The tattoo of Wellsburg.
The Wellsburg, right there.
That's the one.
I tell you what's hard about it, because you're bragging yourself. So SMU does a banking school, and you go for 2 weeks in the summertime for 3 years, and it's called Southwestern Graduate School of Banking. There are several graduate school of bankings around. LSU has one, SMU, and they bring in bankers from really all over the United States. Primarily, this one's primarily Texas, but it's a large, well-respected graduate school of banking. So I went through that. I think that was 2005, probably, when I did that, and graduated valedictorian.
Wow.
From that. So that was one of the. Cool. I really am pretty.
That's cool.
I'm pretty proud of that one.
That's pretty cool. So you can be proud of that.
Yeah. So
that's worth it.
So yeah. So whenever you're in my office, you'll see. That's one of the diplomas that I have framed, and because I am proud of that.
Sure, it ought to be. What do you got?
So we're only doing 3.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing 3. I won't ask you the one I was going to ask you. So, what hidden talent do you have?
Ooh, hidden talent.
Music, ping pong, pickleball.
I was a bass player for a number of years.
Still play?
I play around. The girls have got a bass down there. They play around.
I saw it. I walked in,
and they're actually very good. They make me very upset, the fact that I had to work so hard at it. They can pick up anything and do anything. Our kids are so much better than us at everything, aren't they? It's amazing. I do sing, but in church.
Yeah.
But I think I play the bass. My most surprising thing recently is I can write a book. I really did not know.
That's not easy.
I didn't know if I could do it. And I don't mean to bring that back up, but
I'm impressed by that.
That's crazy to me that I did that. And that it turned out to be what it was, and that people said what they did about it. That surprised me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a hidden talent other people had, but I mean, it's a surprise to me that it was. And the other surprise is I've already got the second version of this book.
Do you really?
In my head, ready to come out.
I don't know what I'd ever write.
Yeah.
And my other question, the most important, was who is your favorite mayor of Rockwall? But you don't need to answer that. We're only
Jim's
doing 3.
Always been, Jim was just a. You know what? I can say this in all honesty, and I know that was a setup question for fun.
It really was. I was just teasing.
But I can tell you this: we have had some of the most approachable, and this is serious. I'm not kidding. Most approachable, down to earth leaders, and that goes beyond just mayors. Leadership. We talked about Sweet a while ago, Judge Sweet.
Yeah.
I had Mark Russo on recently on this. He was on. Just the leadership of our community there has been so down to earth and approachable. Trace.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
Same way. Well, but it's not.
I know, but it should be.
I know.
It should be.
I know, and I think that's why. I think that's one of the reasons why Rockwall does so well. And no place is perfect. We know that.
Yeah.
But as far as a really good place to raise your kids and live and shop and do your life, I think Rockwall is far and away one of the best places that I've ever been. And I used to travel all over the United States. I traveled for years. I've been in all kinds of towns and cities, big cities, New York and Chicago, and I worked in technology. I've been in some places, and Rockwall is very special and unique. And I think that's part of the reason why is approachable leadership. And when you do have something that comes up, you can talk, and you can get to a conversation or a phone call back or whatever. And there's some things that I've been working on for about 5 years that the crosswalk in front of my restaurant would be amazing, and one of these days,
State highway.
I know makes it hard. It does make it hard.
It makes it hard.
That just means we got to work harder.
Well,
to get TxDOT on the line and get them in there.
The entrance to my drive-through is I've been trying to get that fixed, and I thought the city should do it. Then
the pavement there.
Yeah, because it dips down and backs up.
Yeah.
It's not good. So
Yeah.
Brother, we're fighting the same fight.
Right. Right.
Like who do I call in the city?
Right. I don't know. I hear I hear they answer calls at City Hall, though.
Yeah.
They do.
I'm going to run for mayor again.
You should do it.
Okay.
All right. I think we got one more, right?
Yep.
All right. Here it is. If you could pick one living celebrity to be a personal mentor, who and why?
So living celebrity. That's a hard one.
Yes.
I'll think of somebody living.
Just a name we would know. It doesn't have to be. I mean, celebrity. It doesn't have to be an actor. Or
Yeah,
anything.
no,
just somebody we'd know.
You know who I kind of like, and probably because I've met him, and I think he'd be a great mentor in business, is Mark Cuban.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely got a different way of looking at things.
I mean, you can. Yeah. I mean, there are probably others that, the Buffetts of the world,
right?
But he's still alive.
One thing about Mark is, and I haven't met him, I don't know him, but a lot of guys get a chunk of money and then they squander it. They blow it. They waste it. Whatever it is. He has done a remarkable job of growing it and developing it and using it, and I that's probably a good answer.
You take away his kind of quirky. Take away his media personality,
flamboyant.
Yeah. You take that away. So I'll tell you my experience with him. Kind of why I said that. We were at a birthday party, and he was there, and we were talking to it was my former brother-in-law, and we were sitting there talking. Well, Mark walks into the party. It was like 40th birthday party. And Stephen says, this is Kevin. This is my mom and dad, and introduced us. And right at the beginning of the party, then we get in, the barbecue line. I happen to be behind him. The Mavericks had lost the night before, and so just small talk. I'm like, tough night last night. Yeah. Seriously, 20-second conversation. 2-3 hours later, we're at a table. He walks up and he goes around and says, Kevin, it was so nice to meet you. Sure, it was so good to meet you.
Wow.
He called, Patsy.
Every name.
He called every single person he met. First time I met him.
That's crazy.
I mean, I was pretty darn impressed.
That is.
And I've seen him at a basketball game, even somewhat near to that. He wouldn't remember me now, but then he was like, hey, Kevin, good to see you. I'm like,
that's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's a sharp mind right there. Because I mean, I'm not sharp like that, I guess, but I've talked to people for 5 years at the restaurant, and maybe I don't know why, but names are the hardest thing in the world for me.
Yeah. I'm pretty good, but man, that always stuck with me.
I need to call names like that, and it's one of those hard. It's one of the things I struggle with. I don't know why I can't get, and I'll know them. And it'll be right there, and I'm afraid to say it. I'm afraid to have the faith to say their name, and I'm like, it's Chuck, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I knew it. I was just afraid to say, or it's just right there on like the backside of the edge of your brain, and it just won't come all the way forward. But also, I'm in a line with a lot of times 3 or 4 hour line.
Yeah.
People after people, and so I guess maybe that's part of the problem.
That's what it is.
Let's say that's what it is. Well, man, it's been awesome. It's been great having you. Thank you for coming out.
Absolutely.
And it's an honor to sit and talk with you. Honor to call you my friend.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have spent this time together. Hopefully, others have enjoyed it like we have, and I think they will. Just having a good conversation. So
good,
man. We say thanks for coming out to the Wells Ranch studio, and I'm Lee Wells on the Ranch and Table podcast. Until next time, we say adios, farewell, goodbye, good luck, and so long.